The warning message had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Galactic Council had never faced a threat like this before. For centuries, they had ruled over countless species, dominating the stars with their immense fleets and advanced technology. The message was simple, but its implications were terrifying. Caution: a human war vessel incoming. Prepare for impact. No one knew where it came from. No one had ever seen a ship like it. The human race, once thought to be insignificant, had somehow built a weapon powerful enough to challenge the might of the galaxy's most powerful empires. The Council scrambled, calling upon their fleets to respond to the threat. The greatest military minds in the galaxy were put to work, studying the data, trying to figure out how this human vessel could exist in the first place. A fleet of 100 ships was deployed to intercept the human war vessel. The aliens were confident. They had seen wars, they had conquered countless worlds, and they believed that no force could stand up to them. But the human vessel was unlike anything they had imagined. Its hull was sleek, its design ancient, yet terrifyingly effective. It moved with precision, its engines humming as it cut through space at incredible speed. The alien fleets approached, their ships surrounding the human vessel from every direction, ready to open fire. The moment the first shot was fired, everything changed. The human vessel didn't flinch, it didn't retreat, it simply responded. The alien ships fired their most advanced weapons, each blast aimed with deadly precision, but the human warship seemed to absorb the attacks. Its shields flared brightly, but they held firm. It wasn't just powerful, it was impenetrable. The aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. How was this possible? They fired again and again, but the result was the same. Every shot bounced off the human ship's shields like raindrops against a mountain. Then the human vessel struck back. The first blast from their weapons was so powerful it sent shockwaves through the surrounding space. One of the alien ships exploded in an instant, the wreckage spreading out in all directions. The alien commanders watched in horror as the destruction continued. For every ship they sent, one was destroyed. It didn't matter how many weapons they unleashed or how they coordinated their attack. The human vessel had an answer for everything. The galaxy's greatest military leaders were thrown into chaos. The warships they had built, some of the most powerful in the galaxy, were crumpling under the might of a single human ship. It was not just the power of the ship that shocked them, but the precision with which it fought. Each alien ship was systematically targeted, each blow calculated to cripple, not kill, so the ship's message was clear. Humanity was not here to conquer. They were here to be heard. The first wave of the alien fleets was decimated within minutes. The remaining ships scattered, retreating to regroup. But the human vessel didn't let up. It pursued, hunting down the surviving alien ships with relentless efficiency. Another wave of alien ships came at them, this time with stronger weapons, faster maneuvers, and coordinated tactics. They were determined to bring down the human vessel. But once again, their attacks were futile. The human warships seemed to anticipate every move they made, dodging, deflecting, and countering with unmatched skill. Inside the human vessel, the crew remained calm, focused. They were outnumbered, but they didn't need the overwhelming advantage. They had one thing that the aliens didn't: the sheer will to survive, and to show the galaxy that humanity was not weak. Their captain, a seasoned veteran of countless battles, watched as his crew carried out their orders with military precision. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, and now it was finally here. The captain knew the alien fleets were strong, but they had no idea what they were up against. The aliens were growing desperate. Every fleet they sent out was destroyed. Their most advanced tactics, the ones they had used to crush entire civilizations, failed against the human ship. They had never faced anything like this before. They had underestimated humanity in ways they couldn't even comprehend. On the command deck of the alien flagship, the commanders tried to regroup. They argued over their next move, some advocating for a full retreat, while others demanded a final assault. Time and again, They watched the human ship tear through their forces, unstoppable. Each alien ship that fell sent a message to the rest of the galaxy. Humanity was not to be taken lightly. As the human war vessel continued its advance through the enemy lines, a message was broadcast across all frequencies. The voice was calm, controlled, but there was an unmistakable edge of anger in the captain's words. "This is your last warning. Cease your attack, or we will show you the true meaning of strength." The message was clear, and it shook the galaxy to its core. The alien fleets tried to regroup, but their coordination was falling apart. Some ships turned on each other in confusion. Others attempted to flee, but the human vessel had them cornered. The humans weren't just fighting. They were sending a message, one the galaxy would never forget. The final moments of the battle came swiftly. One by one, the alien ships were wiped from the stars. The last remnants of their fleets scattered, broken, and disheartened. The human war vessel had shown them that their power was nothing compared to the might of humanity when pushed to the limit. When the dust settled, the galaxy was left in stunned silence. The human war vessel stood alone among the debris, its mission complete. The alien forces, once so confident in their strength, had been utterly defeated by a single ship. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The aftermath of the battle left the galaxy's greatest empires in shock. How could a single ship with a crew of humans have done what they couldn't even imagine? What had driven humanity to create such a powerful force? And more importantly, what would humanity do next? The aliens knew that this encounter was only the beginning, and the galaxy would never forget the day humanity's warship came for them. The galaxy had never seen anything like this. The warning had been broadcast across all frequencies, a single line of chilling clarity. Caution, a human war vessel incoming. Prepare for impact. For centuries, the Galactic Council had ruled with an iron fist, their fleets commanding respect throughout the stars. They had wiped out species who dared defy them, crushed rebellions before they even had a chance to start, and controlled the galaxy's trade routes with ease. But this was different. A human war vessel was approaching, a ship unlike anything the Council had encountered. No one knew where it had come from, or how humanity had created such a thing, but one thing was certain: it was a threat. It was a force to be reckoned with. The Council's military leaders rushed into action, assembling their most advanced fleets to intercept the human vessel before it reached their territories. The alien warships were massive, bristling with weapons, designed for speed and power. They expected a simple skirmish, an easy battle to crush this insignificant threat. But as the human ship neared, they realized they were facing something far more dangerous than they had imagined. The human warship was enormous. Its sleek, dark hull shimmered with a faint, eerie glow, and its weapons were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. It was as if the ship was alive, a predator lurking in the depths of space, waiting for its moment to strike. As the alien fleets prepared for battle, they could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on them. This wasn't going to be an easy victory. They had underestimated humanity, and now they would pay the price. The first shots rang out, and the human vessel fired its weapons with deadly precision. The aliens responded with their own barrage of energy blasts, but something strange happened. The blasts from the human ship didn't just hit the shields of the alien ships. They tore through them. Alien warships were torn apart in an instant, their hulls crumpling under the force of the human weaponry. The first wave of alien ships was destroyed before they even had a chance to engage in close combat. The alien commanders scrambled to regroup, sending in reinforcements from all corners of the galaxy. But the human warship was relentless. It cut through the alien forces like a knife through butter, its weapons firing again and again, disintegrating everything in their path. The aliens couldn't believe what they were seeing. No human ship should have been able to do this. How could this one vessel, seemingly so small compared to their fleets, be so powerful? As the alien fleets staggered, the human warship continued its assault, showing no signs of slowing down. Every attack the aliens launched was deflected, absorbed, or destroyed. The alien warships were beginning to panic, trying to break formation and escape. But it was too late. The human ship was faster, more precise, and more deadly than they could have ever imagined. A second wave of alien ships arrived, bringing their best and most powerful forces. They had learned from their earlier mistakes, and now they came with everything they had. But the human warship showed no signs of fear. The captain, a battle-hardened veteran, ordered the crew to stand firm and fight with everything they had. The human vessel unleashed its full fury, sending out shockwaves that rattled the very stars. In the chaos of battle, the human warship's captain gave the order to switch tactics. Instead of overwhelming firepower, they began using a more calculated, precise approach. They targeted the alien ship's weak points, disabling their engines, crippling their weapons, and leaving them defenseless. It was a strategy designed to break the alien fleet's spirit, and it was working. One by one, the alien ships fell, unable to mount any effective counterattack. The sight of their fleets crumbling under the onslaught of a single human ship sent a message the galaxy could not ignore. Humanity was no longer weak. Inside the alien flagship, the commanders watched in disbelief as their forces were wiped out. The first wave had been bad, but the second was even worse. They had sent their best ships, their most experienced officers, but none of it mattered. The human vessel was unstoppable. The alien leaders, once so proud of their fleets and their power, found themselves questioning everything they had ever believed. Could humanity really be this powerful? The captain of the human vessel, known only as Commander Talia, spoke to her crew over the intercom. "Stay focused," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We are not here to destroy. We are here to show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. We've come too far to turn back now." Her words were a call to action, a rallying cry for the crew who were now pushing the limits of their endurance. As the battle continued, the aliens began to realize that the human ship wasn't just a weapon, it was a symbol. It represented everything the galaxy had feared. A species once thought weak, now rising to challenge those who had oppressed them. Humanity wasn't going to be silenced anymore. The alien commanders began sending desperate messages to the rest of the galaxy, calling for reinforcements, begging for help. But it was too late. By now, the human warship had completely shattered the alien fleet's defensive line. The remaining ships scattered in all directions, trying to escape, but the human ship was faster. It followed, relentlessly hunting down the fleeing ships with the precision of a predator. Each ship that tried to flee was destroyed without hesitation. The message was clear: there would be no mercy. On the command deck of the human warship, Commander Talia watched the last of the alien ships fall. She knew the battle wasn't over, but it was a start. Her crew had shown the galaxy that humanity wasn't just a species to be ignored or dismissed. They had come for what was theirs, and now the galaxy would know their name. The galaxy would feel their strength. As the last alien ship was obliterated, the human warship paused for a moment in the silence of space. The message had been delivered. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity had just proven that they were ready to lead the charge. But as the human ship prepared to move on, a strange feeling settled in the air. The alien fleets had been defeated, but the war was far from over. The galaxy had been shaken, and humanity had only just begun to show what they were capable of. The question now was not whether humanity could defeat their enemies, but whether the galaxy would ever recover from the fury they had unleashed. The echoes of destruction still hung heavy in the silence of space. The alien fleets had been obliterated, their once proud ships reduced to rubble, scattered like the debris of a forgotten empire. The human warship, a single vessel that had turned the tide of the battle, stood alone among the wreckage. But the crew aboard that ship knew that this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy was still out there, and it would not take kindly to being so ruthlessly shaken. Commander Talia stood at the bridge, her hands resting on the railing as she looked out at the stars. Her mind was sharp, focused, but even she couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was looming. The battle they had just fought had sent shockwaves across the galaxy, but what would be the next move? The Galactic Council would not just allow this affront to go unanswered. They would retaliate. They had to. "Status report," she ordered, her voice low, but commanding. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Morrow, turned from the monitors, his face grim. "Sir, the alien fleets are retreating, but there are already messages coming in from multiple systems. They're calling for reinforcements. It's clear the galaxy's leaders are rattled. We've sent a message, all right, but we'll need to be ready for a second wave." Talia nodded, her eyes narrowing. "I know. Prepare the ship for further engagement. No one underestimates humanity again." The battle had ended, but the war was far from over. As the human warship maneuvered away from the wreckage of the alien fleets, its next course was set, straight for the heart of the galaxy. The Galactic Council was sure to respond, and they would bring all their might. They would not allow a single human vessel to threaten their power. But Commander Talia was resolute. Her crew was ready to show the galaxy that humanity was not just a force to be reckoned with. They were the new rulers of the stars. Back at the Council's headquarters, panic spread like wildfire. The communication room was filled with alien officials, their faces twisted in concern, each scrambling for a solution. The Council's greatest military minds had been outclassed, outsmarted, and outgunned by a human vessel that was as elusive as it was powerful. "We underestimated them," General Otho, an imposing creature with 4 eyes and scales that shimmered under the lights, growled. "The human ship is unlike anything we've faced before. How could they have built such a weapon?" Counselor Czar, a being with translucent skin and the ability to read the emotions of others, spoke with a mixture of disbelief and anger. "This is an outrage. The Council has tolerated humanity's existence for far too long. This is not a mere ship. This is a declaration of war. They have dared to strike at the very heart of our authority." The room grew tense. The fleet commanders, alien and distant from one another in form, all shared the same expression of worry. The human warship had proven its dominance, and they knew that a full-scale response would be needed to put an end to this rebellion before it spread. "The message has been sent," Counselor Czar continued. "Humanity has shown they will not back down. If we do not act swiftly, they will become a threat we cannot control. We must launch a full counteroffensive, and we need to do it before they reach our borders." "But where do we even begin?" General Otho asked. "We've never seen anything like it before. They've torn apart everything we've thrown at them. There's no record of a human ship this powerful. They have the advantage, and I fear we might not have the firepower to match it." Czar's face twisted into an expression of determination. "We've always controlled the galaxy, and we will continue to do so. Prepare a fleet. We will send our might and crush them before they can reach the heart of the Council." Meanwhile, on the human ship, the crew prepared for their next move. They had struck a blow, but it was only the first. Humanity had made their presence known, and now it was time to stand their ground. Commander Talia knew that the galaxy wouldn't be content to let her ship run rampant. The Council would retaliate, and they would come in full force. "Lieutenant Morrow," she called, turning to face him, "get me a full tactical analysis. We need to be ready for whatever they throw at us. We won't make the same mistake twice. We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting for everything." Morrow nodded sharply, immediately pulling up data on the main screen. "Yes, sir. Calculating the potential routes and intercept strategies. If the Council launches their forces from the core, we'll need to take a more defensive position." Talia stared at the data unfolding on the screen. The Council's forces were formidable, but they lacked one thing humanity had in abundance: unpredictability. The aliens had become complacent, believing their power to be unchallenged. They would find out, soon enough, just how wrong they were. "Start preparing the crew for another wave," Talia ordered, her voice steady, calm in the face of the storm ahead. This won't be like the first. We'll need to strike hard, strike fast. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to claim our place in the galaxy." The next few days passed in tense silence. The human warship moved slowly through space, staying one step ahead of any counterforces, gathering intelligence on the approaching alien fleets. The tension in the crew was palpable. They had been pushed to the edge in the previous battle, and the knowledge that another, larger conflict loomed on the horizon only added to their anxiety. Commander Talia spent hours poring over data, strategizing with her officers. She knew that the galaxy's leaders wouldn't let them have their victory so easily. They would come, and they would come with everything they had. But Talia had something that no one else could anticipate: the will of humanity. She had seen it in her crew's eyes, the same fire that had burned in the human fleet's hearts for centuries. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, forced to fight for survival, and now they would not let anyone stop them. The galaxy had underestimated them once. It wouldn't make that mistake again. And so, the human warship continued its journey through the stars, ever watchful, ever prepared, as the alien forces gathered on the horizon. The first battle had been won, but the real test was still ahead. The silence of space felt like the calm before a storm. The human warship drifted in the cold expanse, its engines humming quietly as the crew prepared for the next phase of their mission. Commander Talia stood at the observation window, her eyes fixed on the distant stars. She had seen countless battles in her career, but this was different. The stakes had never been higher, and the weight of responsibility felt heavier than ever before. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see what humanity would do next. Behind her, Lieutenant Morrow entered the bridge, his face pale, eyes filled with concern. "Commander," he began, his voice tense, "we've received intel. The Council has mobilized their fleet. They're coming for us." Talia didn't flinch. She had expected this, but hearing the words out loud made it real. The alien forces were preparing for a full-scale counterattack, and this time they would bring everything they had. No more underestimating humanity's power. No more ignoring their presence. "How soon?" she asked, turning to face Morrow. "Within the next few hours," Morrow replied, his fingers flying over the console. "They've already gathered a fleet large enough to crush us, Commander. We're vastly outnumbered." Talia's mind raced. The human warship was a powerful force, but facing the full might of the Galactic Council would be a challenge. Still, they couldn't afford to retreat. If they did, the galaxy would think humanity was weak, that they could be bullied and controlled. That would be a mistake. The human spirit couldn't be contained. "We don't run," Talia said firmly. "Prepare the crew for battle. We'll make our stand here." She knew they didn't have the numbers, but they had something far more important: strategy, cunning, and the element of surprise. The Council may have been a united force, but humanity had a way of thinking outside the box, of doing the unexpected. And that would be their advantage. As the crew rushed to their stations, Talia began to strategize. She pulled up the fleet's composition on the main screen. The alien fleet was massive: battleships, carriers, and destroyers, all poised to strike. But humanity's ship wasn't just another war vessel. It was built for speed, agility, and adaptability. The humans had engineered it with one purpose in mind: to survive against overwhelming odds. If they could use that to their advantage, they might just stand a chance. "We'll use hit-and-run tactics," Talia explained, pacing in front of the crew. "We'll engage with precision, take out their key ships, and disrupt their formations. We can't face them head-on, but we can pick them apart from the edges. Morrow, I want full sensor sweeps on their fleet. Find the weak points." "Aye, Commander," Morrow replied, tapping at the console. "I'm on it." Talia's eyes flicked to the tactical display, her mind calculating the best path forward. She was confident in her crew, in the warship's capabilities. They had trained for this, and they would not falter. But still, there was an undeniable sense of danger hanging in the air. The Council's fleet was relentless, and they would not stop until humanity was crushed. The tension built as the hours passed. The ship's crew moved with the quiet precision of a well-oiled machine. Everyone knew what was at stake. This was more than just a fight for survival. It was a fight for humanity's place in the galaxy. If they could stand their ground, if they could push back the Council's forces, the galaxy would have no choice but to respect them. If they failed, well, the consequences didn't bear thinking about. Commander Talia stood at the front of the bridge, her hands clenched tightly at her sides. She watched the stars as they slowly began to shift, the distant points of light marking the arrival of the alien fleet. The ships were vast, their silhouettes forming an intimidating wall of metal and power. The Council was coming. The time for strategy was over. It was time for battle. All hands, brace for impact. Talia's voice rang out, steady and commanding. Prepare for engagement. The crew responded instantly, moving into their positions as the ship hummed with energy. They were ready, but as the fleet approached, Talia couldn't help but feel the weight of the situation settle in her chest. This was no longer just a skirmish. This was the beginning of a war that would shape the future of the galaxy. The first strike came from the heart of the Council's fleet, a massive barrage of energy weapons aimed at the human warship. The ship shuddered under the force of the attack, but it held firm. Talia gritted her teeth, watching the display as she barked orders to the crew. "Shields at 75%, Morrow called out, his voice tight with tension. "The enemy's weapons are more powerful than we anticipated, but we're holding." Talia didn't waste time with words. She was already formulating the next move. The enemy fleet was too large to engage directly, but the human warship was fast, nimble. They had the advantage in speed and maneuverability. They could outmaneuver the larger ships, hit hard, and retreat before the Council could retaliate. "Launch all drones," Talia ordered, "and target their lead battleships. Let's see how they handle a swarm." The drones were launched in a flurry of motion, scattering into space like a cloud of angry wasps. They darted towards the alien fleet, their weapons primed to strike. The Council's ships were massive, but they weren't prepared for the unpredictability of humanity's tactics. The drones hit their targets with pinpoint accuracy, explosions rippling through the ranks of the Council's fleet. "Direct hits on their lead ship," Morrow shouted. "They're starting to break formation." Talia's heart raced. This was their moment. The enemy was rattled. Now was the time to push forward. The human warship shifted, moving with a grace that belied its size. It darted through the alien fleet, dodging fire as it moved from one target to the next. Another round of drones was launched, and another set of explosions rocked the enemy lines. But just as Talia felt a surge of triumph, a new threat emerged. From the heart of the alien fleet, a massive dreadnought, a ship unlike anything the humans had seen before, emerged, its weapons glowing with deadly intensity. This was the Council's secret weapon, and it was heading straight for them. Talia's mind raced. They hadn't accounted for this. The dreadnought was too powerful, too well armed. A direct confrontation would be suicide. She had no choice but to think fast. "Redirect all power to the engines," Talia ordered. "We're going to outrun it." The crew scrambled to comply, the ship's engines roaring as they pushed the warship to its limits. They were running now, but Talia knew they couldn't keep this up forever. The dreadnought was faster than they anticipated. As the ship hurtled through space, dodging blasts from the Council's weapons, Talia's mind raced. They had to find a way to disable that dreadnought. They had to turn the tide before it was too late. And then an idea hit her. She turned to Morrow. "Send a transmission to the dreadnought," she said. "I've got a plan." "What kind of plan?" Morrow asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. "I'm going to give them a taste of their own medicine." With a swift motion, Talia sent a message directly to the dreadnought. It was simple, but its impact would be devastating. The message was brief, but it carried a heavy weight. "Humanity does not fear you. We are coming for you, and we will not stop until the galaxy knows our name." With that, Talia braced herself. The response was coming. It was just a matter of time. The seconds stretched like hours as Talia's message hung in the cold void of space. The crew was tense, each member of the warship's team fully aware of the stakes they were playing for. The dreadnought was still following them, its ominous shadow looming ever closer, the ominous hum of its weapons charging for another strike. The human warship was fast, but the dreadnought was far too powerful for a long chase. They couldn't run forever. Talia's mind was racing, trying to think of the next move. This was no ordinary battle. The stakes had been raised beyond a simple defense of humanity's honor. This was a fight for survival, for the future of the human race in the galaxy. If they could survive this encounter, they would show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. They were a force to be reckoned with. "Commander," Morrow said, breaking her thoughts. His voice was sharp, a hint of fear in it. "The dreadnought's guns are locking onto us. We won't outrun it." Talia glanced at the tactical display. The dreadnought's massive weapons were charging, ready to unleash a devastating blast. The human warship's shields were weakening with every shot they dodged, and the energy reserves were draining faster than she liked. They were close to their limits. "We're going to do the unexpected," Talia said, her voice calm, but there was a fire in her eyes. "Get me a direct line to the dreadnought's bridge." Morrow hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Yes, Commander." The transmission was sent, and Talia stood tall, her mind focused, ready to face whatever came next. The image of the dreadnought's command bridge flickered on the screen. Moments later, the face of an alien officer appeared before her, a towering figure with an air of confidence that seemed unshakable. "I am Commander Azalor of the Council's dreadnought Excalibur," the alien growled. His voice was deep, filled with an unspoken threat. "Surrender now, human, and we may spare your lives." Talia's lips curled into a smile, her eyes burning with resolve. "You've underestimated us, Azalor, and that will be your downfall." Azalor's eyes narrowed, his expression one of utter disbelief. "You dare defy us? We are the might of the galaxy, and you are but a speck in the vastness of it." "We may be a speck to you, but we are a speck that fights back," Talia replied coldly. "You'll see that soon enough." Before Azalor could respond, Talia gave a single command, her voice ice-cold. "Prepare the quantum disruptors." The crew sprang into action. Quantum disruptors were still a relatively new weapon, and this would be the first time they'd been used in battle. It wasn't a conventional weapon. It worked by destabilizing the space-time fabric around a target, creating intense gravitational anomalies that could disable even the most powerful ships. It was risky, untested in a real combat scenario, but it was humanity's best shot at surviving this. As the disruptors powered up, Talia's thoughts drifted back to the message she had sent earlier. The message that she knew would send a shockwave through the Council's ranks. It wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration. Humanity was no longer willing to cower in the shadows of the galaxy. They would fight for their place. They would carve their path through the stars if they had to. The first burst of energy from the disruptors sent a violent shock through the ship, but the human warship held strong. Across the battlefield, the dreadnought was still bearing down on them. But the tide was turning. The quantum waves started to destabilize the dreadnought's trajectory, its movement becoming erratic. "What the hell is happening?" Azalor's voice crackled through the comms, panic now creeping into his tone. "What are you doing to my ship?" Talia's voice came through, calm and unwavering. "We're doing what you thought was impossible." The dreadnought's guns fired wildly, their shots missing the human warship by miles as the ship began to veer off course. The crew on the warship could see it, a massive, glowing distortion in space surrounding the dreadnought, twisting the very fabric of reality. It was clear that the alien ship was losing control. Morrow's voice came through, a mix of awe and disbelief. "Commander, it's working. Their ship's systems are failing. We've got them." Talia allowed herself a brief moment of satisfaction, but there was no time to relax. The warship had made a powerful move, but this was only the beginning. The Council's response would be swift, and their forces were only a part of the greater galaxy. Humanity had just taken the first step, but the real war was still to come. "Get us in close," Talia ordered. "We'll strike now." While they're off balance, the human warship surged forward, weaving through space with unmatched precision. The dreadnought was stumbling, its once imposing form now a shadow of its former self. The quantum disruptors had done their work, but the Council's advanced ships weren't completely disabled. They still had the power to retaliate. The human warship's cannons fired, striking the exposed areas of the dreadnought. Explosions rippled through its hull, sparks flying as the alien vessel staggered under the assault. The crew on the bridge cheered, but Talia remained focused. "Don't celebrate yet," she warned. "We need to finish this." A series of shots from the dreadnought hit the warship's shields, sending the jolt through the hull. The crew gritted their teeth as they held their ground, but the dreadnought was still fighting back. Even with its systems failing, it wasn't done yet. "Target their engines," Talia commanded. "If we disable their engines, we take the fight out of their hands." Morrow quickly recalibrated their weapons. The cannons fired again, this time with deadly accuracy, hitting the dreadnought's engine core. The alien ship shuddered violently, its momentum halting as the engines exploded in a brilliant flash of light. "Direct hit. Engines are down," Morrow shouted, his voice filled with relief. Talia didn't let herself relax. The battle wasn't over. The dreadnought's remaining crew would be desperate, and the rest of the Council fleet wouldn't be far behind. But this was a victory, a significant one. It was proof that humanity, though small, was not to be underestimated. It was proof that they could stand their ground, even against the might of the galaxy. As the dreadnought began to drift, unable to continue its assault, Talia took a deep breath. "We've sent our message," she said softly. "Now we wait for their response." The crew exchanged nervous glances, knowing that this was only the beginning of a much larger fight. But in this moment, they had shown the galaxy that humanity was no longer a prey to be hunted. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the stars would soon learn to fear them.